Hey there, friends. It's another episode of Pensive Cowboy. You see, sometimes I do talk about cows, and I did actually on Facebook recently publish this cowboy's thoughts on doing agricultural YouTubes. The food supply is an important topic, and trade issues with food. It's all, you could say, everything is national security if you're in the right mindset. So this guy with a cowboy hat, censorship of sensitive agriculture. It's the front line these days. What gets monetized or not on YouTube, right? A lot of kids want to grow up to be YouTube broadcasters and make their living that way. And, it's important what gets monetized and not. Now, currently, I don't monetize any of my YouTubes. So you can find them, needle in a haystack, and watch them without commercial interruptions. But because they're not monetized, I don't think the algorithms are very desperate to push them into anyone's face because who's going to get any value? On the other hand, if valuable YouTubes aren't monetized and yet are right on target, what does that say about the algorithm, right? So if you're like searching on, now I won't say necessarily Rust. Rust is a computer language that I've started studying, and I've got it running in VS Code on my Anaconda distribution of the Python language. So Python comes with two. Let me get Anaconda up here. Python comes with two code editors if you get it through Anaconda, Spider and VS Code. And it's VS Code that I'm using. I'll start launching it here to do to do Rust. And I'm working on generating FCC spheres. This is something that my friend in Indonesia needs help with anyway. He's interested in the same topic. I was going to pull up the Jupyter notebook in question. Let's see, it's on GitHub, 4D Solutions, Python 5 slash generating FCC. Here we go, this one. Now, sometimes GitHub doesn't render. It goes, uh, it's overworked, I think. GitHub gets behind, and first thing to go is rendering of Jupyter notebooks. But then I've noticed NB Server, which was my workaround, they've started a quota system. Like if my pages get really popular and people use NB Viewer to view them, it'll max out. Like my GitHub account isn't worthy. So there is bottlenecking going on, perhaps. So I'll slide VS Code into this picture. I've got the colorization, but what I don't have is there's a helpful like plugin called RLS that is not working for me at the moment. These are extensions. VS Code is, I think it's just a path issue. See all this stuff on the left here? Couldn't start right. This stuff, right? It's not working for me yet. So I have to dive into figuring that out. Chris Fernley, back to Facebook, has just published his thoughts on operating manual for Spaceship Earth in his blog and asking for comments. It's a good little synopsis, I would say. And it has been written up not so long ago in Nature magazine, right? And so they talk about how influential it's been. This is one of Bucky Fuller's more popular books, Operating Manual for Spaceship Earth. It's kind of where people got the metaphor, except it's almost not a metaphor, of Spaceship Earth. It's a metaphor in the sense that it steers itself to a large degree, the automation aspect of it all, and that we didn't get an instruction book, that humans are born helpless and ignorant. And it's taken quite a while, thousands, millions, whatever, however you want to start the clock, right? Where do you start the stopwatch? But now here we are at a certain point in our trajectory as a planet. We kind of go in a spiral around the galaxy, right? Around the galactic arm. And here we are scrolling through Facebook, right? We've got all this pixel digital internet way of kind of having a shared mind. That's pretty new, and we're not sure what the implications are going to be. It's so new that I don't take as very seriously like all these claims that people know how to swing elections based on Facebook, like Cambridge Analytica. I don't think anyone knows what they're doing in that regard. That's why I think calling it Internet Research Agency was pretty honest. It's research, you know. We don't know how to do what we do. And now we're going to get all upset about who stole the election. I don't think people are coordinated enough to just waltz into the internet era and start tipping governments with dexterity. I think we bumble about quite a bit on that regard. These are my Quora answers. I get some stats, right? They're not, some of them are viewed a lot more than others. I'll share these with you though. So, you know, there's billions of people and millions using the internet. So I'm very obscure. Make sure you remember that at this point in time in 2019 anyway. Totally unknown person, which is fine with me. Was there any truth to Buckminster Fuller's Great Pirates idea? Again, something I've answered on Quora. Why is that a useful mnemonic and so forth? All right, so you get a sense of what I'm doing. Now, I'll end up just talking a little bit more about Rust and generating the FCC. You see, my project with generating the FCC is to use Quadray Coordinates. And Quadray Coordinates are very much like XYZ coordinates. I would teach them as sisters or close cousins. So you should think of them as intimately connected. In fact, you could call them two faces, two interfaces to something similar. So similar as interfaces. You add, you subtract, you negate vectors. That in Rust, what we want to do is use traits, right? And we want to have the same dashboard or API or interface to two underlying structs, struct, struct. We're going to have an XYZ struct where we save, guess what, the X, Y, and Z coordinate of a vector, the tip of the arrow, the origin you can think is always at the origin. Let's just do it that way. It's not a vector field. It's just we have an origin, a very strong one. And all our vectors point from the origin to a star, you could say. The origin could be our star, it could be whatever. You know, put the origin wherever you want. And, you know, you can have all kinds of origins in the same picture. You can do like they do with a scene graph and all that. It's the same as XYZ, so no new knowledge there. It's just a shorthand, syntactic sugar, you could put it. You pile some sugar on top of XYZ such that the centers of all face-centered cubic spheres, CCP or IVM as we say, all those balls have XYZ coordinate centers. But in quadrays, we can have whole number integer values for all those ball centers. I've got the chart here. On the left, you see the quadrays with their 4 tuple coordinates, and on the right, x, y, z. So what I want to do in Rust is use traits so that well, I'm worried here. Here's my question. I don't know that I was going to name my trait vector, but there's a native type vector in Rust, right? Everyone, when they think of vector, there's a certain type, a data type that they think of in the Rust world. So now I'm thinking my mathematical vector XYZ or quadray should probably be called something different. Maybe I'll call it a ray. And then I'll have a Q ray and or maybe an IVM ray and an XYZ ray. I think that might be the way to go. All right, so that's kind of what my morning's like. We're working quick here. It's a medical week. I got to get my mom to her monthly checkup. Just, you know, something that happens routinely, and I had a checkup too yesterday. So, you know, lots going on. And I rode the bike to El Mercado. I haven't been there in weeks. We'll talk about El Mercado somewhat and showing off the gallery. I've done 2 tours this week with people, so it's all been busy, not to mention teaching kids, which I finished some classes because we're going into Thanksgiving. This is the cycle ends around. The cycle ends around now. So goodbye. Enjoyed having you in my class, kids. If you ever see this video, Las Vegas, Washington, state of, so on. Had fun. And this summer, Illinois. That was great summer school. All right. We'll talk to you later.